What I would like to talk to you about today is the class rules that we have. So some of the class rules apply for just when we're in the classroom, but some of them we can use when we're in the classroom and when we're doing digital learning on our devices at home. So hopefully in our class tour you saw the board in our classroom that lists all of the different rules that we have. And in your materials folder, you should have our kindergarten classroom rules, this booklet. So I'm going to go through this booklet with you. If you would like to color along while I go over the rules, you can do that. Or you can just listen and you can color in the pictures at the end. So let's go ahead and go over our classroom rules. Now, before I start with our first rule, I want you to think to yourself, why do we need classroom rules? What do you think? Why do we need classroom rules? Can we all just do whatever we want whenever? Probably not, right? Because would that be safe? No. And would that help us learn? I don't think so. And if we were doing whatever we wanted all the time, then we might not have enough time for all of the fun things that we have planned in kindergarten. Just like when you're at home and mom and dad have rules for you to keep you safe and healthy and to make sure that you're not maybe hurting the feelings of your siblings or other members of your family, we have rules just like that in the classroom. Like we talked about, our class is a family just like your family at home, so we want to treat everyone with kindness and respect. So let's go over our kindergarten class rules. So the first rule we have here is our clock rule. Our clock rule means that we need to be in the right place at the right time. So for example, I have this chime here, and this is something that we'll use in the classroom and possibly when we're at home on our computers to get your attention. So if you hear this bell, that means you stop what you're doing and you raise your hand. So whatever you are holding, you put down and you put your hand up, and that shows me that you're ready to listen and move on to what we're doing next. So the clock rule is very important because sometimes we're really excited about what we're working on and we don't want to stop. We want to keep going. But if we want to make sure that we have time for everything, we need to follow the clock rule. And when it's time to stop, we need to stop what we're doing and listen for our next direction. The clock rule also means that when it's time to line up or when it's time to stop playing, when we're out on the yard, that we need to remember our clock rule so that we can get to our next activity. The clock rule makes sure that we have time for all of the fun things that we need to do and all of the learning. Our next rule is the turtle rule, and that is walking in the classroom and outside of the classroom if we need to walk together somewhere. And the reason we have this rule, what do you think? Why do we want to walk? Because it's safe, right? If we're running, we have black tops, some of it's uneven. In the classroom, we have desks and chairs and things that we could trip on. So we don't want to hurt ourselves or somebody else by running or going too fast. So the turtle rule helps us to stay safe, and you just remember, go nice and slow and steady like the turtle. All right, our next rule is our bear rule. And our bear rule, think about like a bear hug. We're not gonna do things like that. We're not gonna do big bear hugs. We're gonna listen to our bear rule, which means that we are gonna keep our hands to ourselves because we don't want a big bear coming up and grabbing us. We wanna keep our hands to ourselves. So our bear rule, keep your hands and feet to yourselves. Of course, you know, if it's a friend or a family member that you already know and you give them a high five or a fist bump or something like that, that's fine. But at school, we really want to keep our hands and feet to ourselves, especially now when we want to keep each other healthy. We're not going to be shaking hands or touching each other or anything like that, but we are going to do greetings where we don't have to touch each other. So we're going to keep our hands and our feet to ourselves with our bear rule. Our next rule is our bunny rule, and we can use this rule in the classroom and when we are doing our Zoom meetings. So the bunny rule means you need to raise your hand before talking or before unmuting yourself if we're doing our Zoom classes. So we want to make sure to follow this rule because if 10 people are shouting out at the same time, are we going to hear any of them? No, it's just going to sound like great questions and ideas. So if you take your time and raise your hand, I promise Mrs. Whalen and I always try to call on everyone if we can. Sometimes we don't have time for everyone, but most of the time you will get called on if you raise your hand. So just remember to do that so that we can really focus on one person at a time. And our next rule, our most important rule, is our heart rule. And that is to be kind to everyone. Remember, our class is a family, and so we want to make sure that we're showing kindness, just like Jesus taught us, and loving those around us, and treating them the way that we would like to be treated. Our next rule is our pig rule, and this is important in the classroom and also at home. I think mom and dad would appreciate it if you did this with your at-home classroom. And our pig rule is to clean up after yourself. So if you're working in the classroom and your crayons and your pencils are everywhere because you were so focused, or you're working at home and things got messy, when you're finished, you need to clean up after yourself, because when it's clean around you, it really helps you to focus a little bit more on the learning that you're doing. So you want to make sure to clean up after yourself if you've made a mess. And that's okay to make messes, we just have to clean them up. And our last rule is our elephant rule. And our elephant rule kind of goes with our bunny rule, and it's to listen while others are speaking. So if that's a teacher, if that's another classmate, we really want to try to keep our thoughts inside unless we're raising our hand and we get called on. Because again, if someone's sharing something really important to them and someone else just starts talking, is that showing respect and treating them like we're a family? Nope. And just think about if you were sharing something that you were so excited to share, or if you had a really important question that you wanted the teachers to answer, you'd want your classmates to be listening too. And who knows, maybe they have the same question. So our elephant rule is listen when others are speaking. So, and that also goes with our bunny rule. So those are our class rules. So now, if you haven't already, you can go through and color them and go through them again. Maybe you can share them with mom and dad. And when we come back to the classroom, we're going to be following these rules. And like I said, we can follow some of them at home too. Our pig rule, our elephant rule, our bunny rule. Those are all rules that we can follow at school and also at home.